Welcome back to Heart of the Swarm, Tube Dwellers. We return to a best of 5 series from the Kaspersky Arena tournament, September of 2013, between the Terran and the Zerg. First, the blue of the two, Empire Happy, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Belshir Vestige. His opponent, the Cyan Zerg TLO from Team Liquid. Just going to rearrange every part of the intro every time I do it. We'll see how mixed up I can get it. I think that was probably as mixed up as it can get, considering the first even differed from the sequencing of the second. Normally I can at least be consistent there. Not so, not so. So this is game number 2 in this best of 5 series, and this is from the finals. I believe that this match is a... It's not a semi-final match. It's actually the round of 8, I think, within this tournament. And the next match, whichever of these two wins this series and moves on, will be in the semifinals. Now, TLO had a pretty rough game 1. A pretty simple Marine with a couple mines and a couple medevacs. Timing push from Happy took TLO's third out, and TLO had trouble getting his feet back under him pretty much the entire rest of the game. So he's starting a deficit here, and he's going to have to come back from it. He's going to go ahead and whip out the hatchery. Looks like macro play. So far, everything's identical for TLO from this game to the last. But it's already a little bit different for Happy. Different in a couple ways, actually. One really meaningful way. The less meaningful way that it's different is that he didn't go command center first. In game number 1, Whirlwind, he went command center first. Now here, not only has he not gone command center first, he's also already gotten a gas. A single gas almost certainly means that he's going to be sprinting up to tech. I should say a single gas this fast. Normally if you hold off on the gas, you end up getting 2 at once a little bit later. But sometimes there's even some where you hold off on the gas and then still just get 1. This early, though, it almost certainly means he's going to stay on one base until he reaches a point in his tech tree. Now, what that point is, there are a couple different possibilities. It's either going to be right after he gets his factory out, or it's going to be right after he gets his starport out. A Reaper is going to come out first. I suppose he could go ahead and just slap down the command center right after, and it looks like that might be the option. So the tech he's rushing to is just a Reaper, which is not necessarily like a tech path, so much so as a slightly more tech-oriented unit. The cliff jumping, the combat drugs, makes it a very unique unit. Now let's see what kind of micro Happy can pull off here. He's looking for drones at the naturally. He's not going to find any. TLO's being pretty careful about where he puts his drones. And now, let's see how careful he is about where he micros and how he micros his drones. Oh, Happy. Oof. Not good. Reaper gets surrounded by a couple drones and some Zerglings. Very well executed by TLO. I dare say impeccable. First 2 queens are out. Injections have begun. The drone count shall rise. Sure enough, the command center came down right after that single Reaper. Happy not even investing in a second one. He did get scouting information out of that. He came all the way up here. He didn't see the second gas, but he saw that no first gas was down, at least here. And he saw that the pool wasn't jiggling or anything, so he gets an idea at early possible time. Ling speed can come out, and he may not even care, honestly. He is getting Hellions, and he's going to build a tech lab on the barracks. So this tells me STEM is his next priority. He does already have a starport coming up as well. I suppose he could do something funky, like swap the starport all the way over here, but I couldn't see that just given the distance. This is most likely going to be to start STEM, and this may be for maybe a Viking to go pick off Overlords. He could still go Banshees. He's got 2 gas. He could whip out the tech lab over here and go a slightly later Banshee timing. A lot of times you can still hit before the lair's finished, and backing it up surprises the Zerg even more. A lot of times you'll look for a certain push at a certain time, and if that push doesn't come, you'll stop looking for it. And Banshees are a kind of thing that you really want to be looking for to see them coming in. If you can spot them with an Overlord like, say, this as they cross the map, or one over here even, then you can greatly increase your chances of defending the Banshees without taking ridiculous, heinous damage. as TLO's drone count continues to climb. He's investing in some upgrades, but he hasn't gotten the lair yet. TLO knows better this match over the last. Last match, Happy got some good damage done with 4 Hellions. And honestly, that, requiring that TLO rebuild those workers in the early game, might be what allowed Happy to take out his third base later on. So TLO already looking a little bit better in this game, just that this Hellion harass has not been as successful yet. But Happy, this build is looking very similar to the first one. Stim's coming out pretty quick. You know what? I take that back instantly. There's a Marauder. The first build did not have a Marauder. This looks like it may be a very different push, and I love Happy's nose for this. I mean, TLO's got buildings at the front. It looks like he's using the wall to try to keep himself alive. Marauders could exploit the hell out of that. And even so, Happy still gets in. It was 5 Hellions to begin with. He's lost 1, but he's also killed some drones. The rest of these Hellions are pretty low, so I expect the pickoffs to happen quickly. But there's enough Hellions here to still one-shot drones. Even 3, that's a one-shot to drones. Oh my god, the drone kill's going down. 10? This is almost identical. Happy got a little bit more follow-up damage done in game number 1. But having lost 10 drones already, by the way, it looks like I was right about getting that first Viking out. Just the timing of that starport seemed odd. Just the 10 drone kills, though. This is going to slow TLO down. I feel like he may need to do something a little bit differently than he did in game 1. I don't know what it is. It may be just favoring a little bit more Zergling Baneling over the drone count that he achieved. Oh, and look at this. The Marauders are inside of a medevac. TLO has no way of spotting Marauders crossing the map. That's a very interesting piece of information because Marauders mean that he wants to push right now. He would be going lean and focusing on just Marines and focusing on like upgrades or something else to spin this gas on. Something that helps him later if he weren't planning on using some of this investment right now. Viking continuing to patrol. Looks like it's only gotten 1 Overlord. Good control by TLO to pull his Overlords back to not lose any, at least any more. This is Marauder Hellion. I like how many Marauders he's got out here. I like how he brought them. And all the rest is Hellions. This is a base sniping push. I said something about the buildings at his front, but that's not even the design of this. The Hellions are going to keep Zerglings off the Marauders. This is designed to come in before the Banelings are ready to go, so the Marauders can pick off a hatchery, and oh my god, it's working perfectly. Third base down. TLO, again, finds himself on roughly equal economic footing. But in the meantime, there's a bust at the front. Happy's about to finish his third, but it gets canceled. About to get picked off. A lot of Banelings were used here. But oh my god, the losses. Were there that many worker losses? 9, 10. Surely Happy got a lot of workers away, right? Yeah, he's still got 30. That's a decent number. They're actually still pretty comparable considering that the command center's still alive. TLO's still trying to bust here, though, and Happy's got nothing until these forces get home. This is a really well-designed push from Happy, but just almost perfectly countered by a handful of Zerglings and Banelings. What's this Marine shooting at? Looks like he was shooting at the starport there for a second. So TLO taking equal damage to the last game, but this time dealing a lot more. Gets inside, does massive damage to the mineral line. And slows Happy down a lot. Just the mining time lost there was massive damage. He's just now getting back to mining. All the while, TLO's natural remains unhurt, and he now double expands. So we've got the Marauders once again inside of a medevac. The Hellions are going to chase down this marauding Ling pack. If they can get that, then the Marauders will be free to pick this base off. And that's exactly what Happy wants. He wants these Marauders to focus this hatchery. He's going to use his Hellions to make sure the Lings are either occupied or killed. The hatchery goes down. The blood indicates that it wasn't a cancel. And the Marauders are going to go to the main. I don't like this. They're probably not going to get anything done. The Lings are pretty effective. You know what? If it soaked a bunch of Banelings, I might call that worth it. And maybe not. It's possible. I don't know what I'm talking about there. There is no science, no exact math behind that opinion. I feel like if I were the Zerg there, though, I'd want to pull my Banelings back and not let them die to Marauders, especially because you can use Zerglings to kill the Marauders super efficiently. Happy, the wall's not even back up here. He's playing risky. I think he feels like he has to continue damage here, and I'm not sure that's the right choice. He's also... okay, he is still building SCVs. 35, though, that's a low number. This is suspect to a long slack in SCV production. Happy is getting 2-2, which is pretty nice. well, you know, I say that, and TLO is actually ahead on 2-2. I was going to say, considering that TLO doesn't have it coming. There are mutas out now. It looks like TLO is going to lose 1 immediately, and the count is small, though. It's only 5. 1's not even here. 2 are not even here. So that's probably not going to get much done. And Happy's putting together another push. TLO needs to be careful. He's building a lot of drones right now, which in general is a good idea. You want a lot of drones, but he needs to start bulking up for this army that's coming in. They're very close in overall value. TLO's going to have to sacrifice his 4th base. He's going to try to defend it. He tries to surround with Zerglings, but he loses a lot of them. There are enough Marines in this, too, that TLO doesn't have the muta count he needs to deal. Some Spine Crawlers are going to soften this force up, though. And let's see if TLO's ready to engage. He is. He doesn't have all of his Banelings here, but that's enough Banelings. That's going to do devastating damage. Happy splits, but I'm not sure it's enough. All the Lings are getting, all the Marines are getting taken out. And you know, as I say that, I think there are just enough Marines here that TLO, he needs to be careful with these Mutalisks. He's losing quite a few of them. This is not the kind of Mutalisk retention he had at Game 1, but he's retaining bases, and he's retaining drones, and he's doing so while Happy is in a huge deficit. It's 41-62. That is a comfortable spot for a Zerg to be in. The 2 mules from Happy's 2 orbital commands do not make up a 20 worker difference. And I guess we could see that over here on the income tab. Sure enough, TLO ahead primarily in that gas count. The gas is the part that makes it really nasty for Happy, because that means TLO is going to be able to get out his ultimately super effectual units. The Mutalisks that, if he can retain, will buy themselves back in damage done to the enemy time and time again. Interesting, there's no Baneling speed. This has been kind of a hectic match. TLO lost a third, he did a lot of damage to Happy, and it just started. That's funny. I got like some kind of crazy TLO sense for what he's going to do, at least until he performs another action, because I won't catch any of the subsequent actions. Just the one that I just did. Yeah, okay, it was total happenstance. Whatever. Looks like Empire Happy's going to fall back on some Biomine play. He's still got a few Marauders in this composition, but he's going mostly light on them. He's now fielding the mines. He's getting a couple up in defensive positions. He doesn't have a wall up either at his 3rd or his natural, and that's very dangerous, especially against a player like TLO. He loves these small force counterattacks. Just grab a handful of Ling Bane, run it right in the side. TLO again double expanding. The 4th has actually already come up. The 5th is very close, so he's getting ready to be able to distribute from his main. And look, there it is, that TLO timing sense I was talking about. And keep his mining very solid, very nice over various bases. That keeps the early ones from running out so fast. Mutalisks came in for a little damage, but it looks like it's going to be a supply depot and a couple workers. I didn't see exactly how much got picked off there. That puts our counts about even, 13-13 as far as kills. I think a medevac was picked off there. I'm not totally sure, but it looks like the mutas will ultimately retreat and head back over to the main. TLO has amazing map vision, and he's going to use it to just dance back and forth and keep Happy guessing on where these mutas are going to come from. Although Happy's ready for any possibility. He's got some Marines in the main with a couple medevacs. He's got turrets lining the perimeter of his base. It's not worth it for TLO to try to engage in. And the food counts in this game look a little bit more like what you might expect in a Terran versus Zerg. I can't even really say that this is clearly Zerg favored, but the Zerg does have an advantage in food count. And that may be that he's just able to take an equal engagement, because that drone count is going to be a majority of that. 86, wow, it's actually the army counts. There's less food in TLO's army. Let's see, there's a way I can see that. Yeah, army supply. Happy actually has a bigger army by supply count. And now that he's on 3 bases, they're all orbitals. I expect that he's probably going to be making another one, but I guess he's been a little bit mineral starved. This hasn't necessarily been the most macro heavy game. But given that he's on 3 orbital commands, he's going to be happy with this kind of a worker count, no pun intended. 57 is plenty, given that you can easily saturate 3 bases worth of gas, and you can use mules on these 3 orbitals and maybe a couple more. Should be coming out anytime soon. Oh, and it looks like more missile turrets. Wow, this muta cluster is getting really large, so I like that. But anyway, you can use this kind of relatively low worker count to to work out. Equivalent levels of income to the other races. Oh, man. It looks like TLO's wise to the Widow Mines. Mutalisks, once you get them in a sizable cluster, I think the number is somewhere in the 14 range, are quick enough to one-shot a Widow Mine before it deals its damage. And actually, Widow Mines have 90 health. Oh, was that a burrowed Baneling? I didn't catch that. Wow, that's really interesting. Widow Mines have 90 health, and Mutalisks do 9 damage with no upgrades. It looks like they're at 11 right now. So with no upgrades, the count should be like 10. Let's call it 10 to be safe. 10 Mutalisks. You can come in and one-shot a Widow Mine before it fires its missile. So we see TLO abusing that a little bit on the perimeter. He's trying to pick off Widow Mines wherever he can, keep that count low. Beautiful attention to detail. Oh man, Happy's moving forward. He's going to split a little bit. TLO's going to smash in a few Banelings into Marines, but doesn't get any real big hits. TLO has a pretty large force out here. There's a lot of Banelings in it. I'm not sure necessarily that he wants to come running in here, though. Happy's really well spread out, and he's moving forward with small amounts of Marines. Well, that's not a small amount of Marines. That is a very large amount of Marines, but he instantly splits it back up, and here we go. TLO's coming in for the damage. That's a huge Mutacluster, and there are some pretty good Baneling splits. Happy's losing a lot of his Marines. This is not good. He needed to retain this army. Now he is way down, and he did not set up infrastructure to remax behind this push. This push was kind of just a late timing. He didn't really step into the end game setup and then do this push. As a matter of fact, he doesn't have a 4th base yet. I don't think he has a 4th base coming. Happy's kind of all in right now, and he just got obliterated. TLO's now got all the time he needs to turn this bit of a bank he's had into maxed food supply again. He barely lost any mutas, and he's got all the Banelings he needs to deal with a similar looking push. TLO has just put himself in a beautiful position, and for the first time, I can say that he's in a clear advantage, not only in this game, but in this series. That puts the onus back on Happy. He's going to have to make something happen. He is throwing down a 4th command center, so it looks like all hope is not lost, at least in his eyes, although it may very well be. He's 40 food behind, and though he does have 3-3, and TLO doesn't yet, TLO's quickly catching up. TLO still only has 1 armor, which is a little bit nasty, but he's researching 2, and he's also researching 3 damage for his lings, as well as adrenal glands. Know what? I'm sorry. I said he only had 1 armor. That's his air armor. He's only got 1 air armor. Wow, the Banelings! TLO! He counts well. He knows exactly how many Banelings it takes to build to kill a half-built command center. And he rushes in there and stops it. That is such a huge hit. Oh my god, that sets Happy behind so hard. He's not building another command center. This has been a low econ game. He's kind of using his minerals up as he gets them. He's got to start that all over again. He doesn't have the resources to just slap a bunch out and build a bunch of them all at once. And have backups if that happens. No, that set his 4th base back a long time. And TLO now posturing. Interaction between these mutas and marines and biomines is covering some serious space. Mutas are super fast. TLO poised, ready to strike. Happy, too quick on the trigger. Pulls right up into his medevacs, gets out of it. He's going to use some Widow Mines. Looks like TLO's going to back out. A Widow Mine hit went off, and you can see the damage it did to all those Mutalisks. But it looks like ultimately TLO's just going to back on out until he postures on 2 fronts. Can Happy see that? He can. That's totally in Happy's vision. And he's postured here. He's got just Zerglings on this side. He is building some Banelings, though. Happy sniffs it out, but he doesn't want to move all of his forces because he knows that this looks like part of a multi-pronged attack. Oh my god, that pack of mutas is so big. TLO kills a medevac, kills a couple more Marines. Very tense situation we have there. Tech update. It's getting ready to be on the field, so I figure I should mention it. The Hive is up. The Ultralisk Cavern is up. Chitinous Plating is done. Ultralisks are on the field. I don't see any Marauders in the production queue of Happy. Now, Widow Mines can, in the right numbers, deal with your first few Ultralisks, just because that 125 burst damage. You only need a couple of those to make it work. My god, TLO's control on the map is sick. He's taking another base over here. He's going to slap down a ton of spine crawlers to try to hold it. And he's got vision of this, so he knows Happy's not on a 4th base. Happy's in dire straits. He's mined out his main and his natural. He has to make something happen here. He is maxed again, and his upgrades are impeccable. So if he can take a really solid engagement, turn it into a base kill or 2, and take a base behind it, then he might not be out of this game yet. The window is tight and closing, though, especially with this additional tech coming out from TLO. Marines are not good against fully upgraded Ultralisks. And Ultras are surprisingly good against Marines. Happy, he's going to include some SCVs. He kind of needs to. It looks like he's going to include them mainly to sacrifice them. TLO making sure he doesn't waste any banelings on the SCVs. Mute account's still huge. Infestors are now in the mix as well. If a fungal happens, it's going to be very difficult for Happy to deal. It's going to be very difficult for him to make that costly engagement. Happy just feels cooped up. He doesn't feel like he can move out. He's got a very nice defensive position, but I mean, I don't want to hate on him. He's by far a much better player than me, but this is a little cowardly. I feel like if anything's going to win him this game, it's going to be high-risk, high-reward play. It's going to be something that deals a lot of damage to TLO. TLO's bank is getting big enough now that a hit to TLO's economy isn't the biggest thing that Happy could possibly do, but I feel like if he dropped in the main and maybe went for some tech, he might be able to force TLO to make a mistake on the front where he can take an engagement. Now, given the map vision, drop in the main is going to be almost impossible with these mutas. But if you want to make it happen, you got to do something to make it happen. Maybe force the mutas to be in a certain place by getting a little bit active. Not balls out aggression, mind you, but oh man, some fungals go. They only catch a few Marines. Looks like TLO will back off. I should say Happy will back off. TLO's right there in Happy's face every time Happy shows his face. My god, the bank of TLO, though, is letting him just do ridiculous things. Those are all spine crawlers. These are spores. That's another spine. I don't even think I had selected because there's just so damn many of them. TLO now spamming some energy into Happy's base just to make sure he knows what's going on. You never know when a tricky Terran is going to stack up a bunch of minerals and do something crazy like a BC switch and then show up with 6 of them all of a sudden, and your army composition is all wrong and you can't get your production footed back to deal with them. You never know. You never know. TLO being vigilant. Happy in frustration is moving out. There's a lot of Terran here. I will give him that. Responded by with a lot of Zerg, though. The infantry are kind of in a weird way. If Happy's splits are anything less than stellar, he's going to lose a lot of stuff here. He's moving his Widow Mines up. My god, that's a lot of Widow Mines. It looks like TLO wants to come in here. Fungals on the army! Oh my god, he catches so much! But Happy, with a nice little concave, keeps TLO from getting us around until the Banelings come in. More fungals hit. TLO with a little bit of a fake backup there. That was so beautiful. TLO engaged. It looked like TLO lost his ass, and Happy had an overwhelming force left over. And so Happy rushes forward thinking he's getting ready to get the huge killing blow on TLO. And no, instead, TLO comes from the side with a single infestor and a bunch of banelings. A fungal or two, the banelings run right into it. Happy's army evaporates. Beautiful jukes and jives. The way that engagement went, you know what? Unprecedented to do this in a replay. I'm not supposed to do this. It's unprofessional. We're going to do it again, though. I'm going to watch this engagement again. This little juke back is what really made it beautiful. I went back way too far. Okay, hold your horses. All right, here we go. There's the move out. Happy's army moves forward. A couple gets picked off from the right over there. TLO, with not all of his forces, is going to juke in. He just started a bunch of brand new banelings back here. Those are the ones that are going to get the killing blow ultimately. TLO rushes in with everything. Honestly, takes devastating hits. Loses a lot of mutas. Loses ultras. Loses infestors. All kinds of stuff. The second Happy's army clumps. That was even one fungal. That wasn't even 2 fungals. One fungal. All the banelings ran in. Cleaned house. I want to see it one more time. I'm just going to use the back key this time. I want to look at one more thing. I'm going to try to pause it in the perfect spot. Actually, that was pretty good. So, units lost. Right now, we're about 2,000 different in favor of Happy. So the first pause is going to be after TLO does this juke forward. What looks like a legitimate engagement. 2,000 under for Happy. TLO's going to lose so much here. The second TLO starts backing out, we're going to pause it. Okay, so another 2,000 just went in favor of Happy there. Happy killed 2,000 more resources worth of his opponent than did TLO there. But now let's watch the swing. So 4,000 is the advantage. Oh, no, even more than that. It goes up to 7. 5,000 is the advantage for Happy until the Banelings come in. And then it stays at like 3. Okay, so TLO had an expensive army there. He traded a very expensive army pretty equally still, which is kind of surprising. There's game number 2, though. TLO brings it back in a grueling macro match. Actually, more of a low econ, just long game. That's going to put the series 1-1. So let's move on to game number 3. Stay tuned, guys. See you later.